Hi, I'm Chris, and if you're like me, you're concerned about radon, especially if you like to use your basement or if you finished your basement. Radon is a naturally occurring gas that comes up through the ground, and it can be literally anywhere in the US. And as more and more people finish their basements and seal for heating efficiency, you end up trapping more of that radon gas. We purchased this Airthings radon gas tester, back in 2018, and I'm going to walk you through some of the tips and tricks of how we've been using it and where you should place it should you go with this, and why I prefer these over the charcoal testers. So you might be saying to yourself, why do I care about radon gas? Well, radon gas is a carcinogen. It causes lung cancer. It is the second leading cause of lung cancer in non-smokers, and the first being secondhand smoke. And it is odorless. It is invisible. You have no idea you're sitting in it, or you're surrounded by it, or what the levels are, until you actually test for it. So literally, we purchased this back in April of 2018, and it is still going strong. And the reason why I like it better than these charcoal tests that I've tested is because these charcoal tests are one-time use. Plus, you need to figure out the right place to put it, buy multiples of these to put them on different areas of your home, like your basement, first and second floor, if you want those readings. And then you have to fill out some paperwork that has to be very accurate. Then you mail this into a laboratory and you'll receive an email at some point later with your actual readings. So here's why I didn't like that. You're buying each one individually, and if you want to continually test, you have to continue to buy these tests and mail them out and pay for the shipping through FedEx and UPS. The reason why we bought this, even though it was more expensive, is you set it and you leave it, and you can move it wherever you want in your home to get the readings that you need. So it literally runs off of a couple of AAA batteries. I've replaced them once every 2 years, and it gives me a couple of 1-day and 7-day averages and a long-term average, and those do fluctuate based on the environmental changes and your heating and cooling in the basement. And another big reason why we bought this too is because our basement heating and cooling zone also goes upstairs, and this massive return would pull this gas out of the basement and into our living space upstairs. So here's some recommendations on how you use this. You want to keep it away from windows, so I wouldn't want to put it in a windowsill, and I wouldn't want to put it on a floor. You would want to test your basement first because that's where the most radon readings will come in. Now, if I were to place it someplace, I want it to be a couple of feet off the ground, away from any drafts, so I'm not going to place it near that registry or the air return there. I'm going to leave it here for a day or two and get a reading in about 24 hours. So now currently I know that this is backwards, but I got a 0.43 reading, and that's actually really good. When we first had the house tested, the EPA said anything under a 4 is considered acceptable, but that depends on what you feel is acceptable. Ratings can range all over the place. And when we did do a lot of work on our basement, we noticed that these ratings went up to an 11 and almost at 15 at times through those charcoal tests that we had. So we bought this, confirmed that those readings were in fact true, and then we hired professionals to come in and put in a radon mitigation unit. I'll show you that in a second. Ultimately, what I recommend is to give this a week at a time in specific places. Bring it upstairs. Put it into some of your other rooms upstairs where there's a lot of airflow. You'll be able to figure out what the ratings are going up into other parts of the house. Now, there's a lot of variables that will drive radon into your home. So ultimately, it's the area you live in. Some areas just have naturally more radon gas coming up through the ground. Now, there are things you can do to mitigate it, like sealing any cracks in your flooring of the basement if you have concrete slabs, or there could be holes in your foundation and basement that let this gas in. For example, before we replaced our heating unit, this water would actually drain into what was called a weeping hole. So it would actually drain all the condensation into this hole. This was just an open hole in the ground with some gravel in it. So since we've changed that, we've plugged that hole to stop that gas from coming in. Additionally, we used to have a dry well, and there was a pipe coming out here that was sort of plugged up, but not really. So sealing these cracks helps keep this gas out of the basement. And now you're actually looking at part of my radon mitigation unit. There is a pipe that goes into our floor that is actually sucking the gas straight out of the home, up and through our sill and up and above our house. Now it's raining a bit here, but this is what the radon pump looks like outside. There's a pump inside this pipe that's coming up to our sill from the floor of the basement. I have a switch if I want to, if I can, shut this off. But this continually runs to pull all that radon gas out of our home and up and away from our windows. And so honestly, I've been pretty happy with this little unit. I check it every couple of weeks to make sure things are in check. If I shut that radon pump off, I'll notice it go up to 2 or 3. And again, I like these things much better than the buy-as-you-go radon charcoal tests. You tend to want to buy multiples of those. And if you have a problem with where you put the test, you won't know for weeks. And the reading you get, if you're off in the numbers you give them when they do the test, it could come back wrong. And ultimately, it's just the peace of mind knowing that we did the right thing, we know what the readings are, and when we sit down here, we're not being flooded with radon gas, and it's not being sucked up into other parts of our home from our heating unit.